and evaluating, how our new guys fit is a priority, which we have, had a normal amount of time to evaluate. So, we'll continue to look at that, and I'm sure we'll look at different lineups along the way. But the 5 guys on the floor got to be better than we were tonight.
Frank, could you speak to the little run that Paul George went on late in the third quarter that seemed to give them momentum back to the Clippers, and what your defense was or wasn't doing in that situation?
Yeah, a lot of it was on one-on-one coverage or, off the screen where we weren't providing enough resistance. And, we tried to bring more help as he was getting hot. But, by then, most of the damage had been done. But he just had a terrific night. And like I said, a lot of it was in one-on-one situations, which, we got to do a better job of pushing up on him and making sure that we're bringing appropriate help.
Bill?
Hey, Frank, how did you evaluate Marc Gasol's night? Obviously, got into that early foul trouble. Just what do you take away from just seeing him out there tonight?
Yeah, he's going to be fine. Obviously, being matched up with a three-point shooter, it was a challenge for all bigs. We have coverages in place that we weren't sharp enough covering for him. And, I'm disappointed in myself. I didn't put the ball in his hands more in the top of the key like we did in the preseason to take advantage of his passing ability. So, part of learning new players and guys getting comfortable and acclimated, and then the foul trouble limited him as well.
Kyle?
Hey, Frank, related to what Mike was asking earlier, you take out, I think LeBron didn't check in and after the almost 8-minute mark, and then AD comes out with about 3.5 minutes left. And obviously it was a big lead, but not a huge lead. Are those decisions that you're going to be a little more conservative in making, given sort of the long-term goals and some of the early season health concerns you talked about with us, especially with those two guys?
Absolutely. We're going to be conservative with their minutes early on in the season, and we have the depth to do it. We didn't play well enough to win a game tonight, but we have the depth to manage our minutes intelligently early on in the season while we're trying to get our legs under us, and we'll continue to do so. And like I said, we have the depth for guys to fill in and still play winning basketball during those stretches.
Dan Wilkie?
Hey, Frank. Can you take us back to pregame? We saw the look on your face when you saw your wife and your daughters up there. You pulled the mask down a little bit and flashed a huge smile. Did you know that was coming? And then I guess secondly, what was it like to have to turn all of that emotion off in 6 minutes? And how difficult was that?
Yeah, I didn't know that was coming. That was something I'll never forget. It was really a great moment. I love my family, my wife, Jen, my daughters, Alexa and Ariana. To show up, delivering that message in that moment was a surprise, and I certainly got a little choked up. In terms of the turnaround, I'm able to do it, and I think our guys were able to do it. We didn't play well in the first quarter, but I don't know if it was totally about the ring ceremony. And once it's over, you appreciate it. You know how special it is. But you move on. You move on quickly. You get into the game. Game comes quick, and you got to get focused. And I think our guys are. I think our guys were, even though we didn't play very well, obviously, in the first quarter.
Of 16.45 total carats. Allie, I think that's pretty good. The most in NBA history. 17 purple amethyst stones in the L for each championship. 0.95 carats of purple amethyst for 95 days spent in the bubble. I don't even know what I'm saying. Each number has a mamba snake behind it and a removable top. A removable top. Big Game James reveals all the retired Laker jerseys. So you're in that ring.
What an honor
Special.
to be in 17th, the one that ties the Celtics.
There it is. Allie, want to jump in there? I just said all that, but that's a beautiful looking ring, isn't it?
I mean, I just think when it comes down to it, something like that can contain that much. The way in which you can become so creative in the things that right there, these guys will have for the rest of their lives to symbolize and remind them of what it took to be rewarded with that right there. That is what it's all about.
Yeah. Listen, they fell down by 22 in the first quarter because those things are heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're tired from carrying it.
Took a while to get used to. No, all joking aside, those things are beautiful. And big game, I got to ask you, I mean, you know, we talked a little bit about it at the pregame show about what it's like ring ceremony night. I can only imagine the memories that come back and that feeling. Phil Jackson always said, huge emotional letdown as well. But when that first game ends, sitting at that locker, you look at that ring, aren't you?
You are. You know, tonight they lost the game. I'm sure they're disappointed, things they need to work on. But riding home tonight, they'll be driving and they'll be looking at that ring, you know, and then they'll put it in the safe and get on to business.
Yeah. It's nice to enjoy it, though.
It really is, Geeter. You know, particularly those who, you know, who didn't think they were going to get one. You know, think about the guys who came to this team. Morris, a couple of guys came in new last year, got a ring.
I want to say this. I want to give props to Jeannie Buss, the Laker organization, the way they handled ring night like nobody's ever gone through this before. No fans, the messages from the families, the kids from the I Promise school, the fact that the banner's not unveiled yet, Allie, with a note on it saying stay tuned. Pretty cool. Amazing. Props.
I mean, I think that's where the emotion truly reaches its height. I thought it was so special what the organization did. I loved watching the players look up and see their families. You know, they go home to them every single night, but that moment right there, I mean, it makes it all what it is. And then you have to think, oh, now it's time to play a game of basketball.
Hard. It's hard to do.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's get you the highlights so you can see it for yourself. Lakers were back at it. It was all Clippers, plus 15 in threes, plus 12 in the paint. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard did their thing. Lakers a little sloppy as expected, 19 turnovers.
A little rusty, 19 turnovers. Quick turnaround after 71 days of being out of the playoffs. You know, it's a new season. You know, and the Clippers have a new attitude. The Lakers obviously are trying to blend those players together, the four new starters, and they were a little rusty. You expected the Clippers to come out. You know, Paul George is going to be a problem, along with Kawhi Leonard. The Lakers know what they have to do. They'll look at some video and, you know, try to come back the next game. But it's only one game. But the Clippers, they have a new attitude, and they have a lot more to prove tonight. So hats off to the Clippers. They played a great game, and, you know, the Lakers have to pick up and go from here.
Yeah, one game. I like that perspective, that reminder we got from Kevin Harlan during the broadcast tonight. You know, after losing to the Clippers a season ago, as you mentioned, dropping that opening night, the Lakers went on to win 24. They went 24-3 in their first 27 games. And I think it was a lot of what we expected coming into tonight, all the circumstances. It's the reality. It is not an excuse. The Clippers showed up and did what they were supposed to do. I think that's an element we can't forget, was that there's a lot of motivation on their side as well, given how things went for them last season, a season ago. And they came out and they did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, you look at the big four in this game, the two superstars for both teams, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, combining for 59 points. Paul George, 13 of 18. LeBron James with 22, 7 of 17. Slow start, but got it going. AD, 18 points, 8 of 15, and 7 rebounds. End of the third quarter kind of sticks out to me, guys. Lakers, up to that point with about 2 minutes and 27 seconds left, they were right there. Many chances to take the lead. Could never do it. Luke Kennard hits a shot, and then Paul George goes on a 10-0 run. Just like that, Allie, the quarter ends, and the Clippers are up 11 points.
Look, I think Frank told us yesterday what we all need to keep in mind. There are going to be some ugly moments. There are going to be some ugly nights. And I think the moments tonight that stood out, particularly to end that third quarter, also to end the first quarter, stretches and runs in which they could have taken advantage, and instead it went against their favor. I think when you look at a guy like Paul George, we have to remember, you said that he's going to be a problem. The narrative about Paul George has never been about who he is in the regular season. It's always about what happens when it matters most in the postseason.
Yeah.
That's where he has struggled. And so to see what he was able to do, you point to those 10 straight points. He is a superstar in this league. He is one of the best two-way players in this league. His ability to score in the ways in which he can score. We saw it tonight in the home opener for him, or the opening night game for him. He did what he was supposed to do. Reminded us who he was.
Before we get to the ring ceremony, because we do want to talk about some positives that came out of tonight, the Lakers getting their championship rings, I want to talk Lakers defense. And I don't want to talk a lot about last year, but it is so fresh because it just happened literally like 6 weeks ago. We said it in the pregame show, this is a different team, different style, some new personnel. You lost some defensive-minded guys. I think, James, we were used to that Laker team really being able to lock in. We only saw glimpses of it tonight, maybe in the second and third quarter. But first quarter, fourth quarter, Lakers kind of struggled defensively, and I think that's where they're going to have to improve the most and tighten it up.
I think they'll get in sync. They lost a couple of players to Dwight Howard, McGee, shot blockers.
Avery Bradley.
Avery Bradley was a perimeter assassin. So, yeah, those are the things that, even though they are multi-talented and they brought in 4 new fresh players, those are the type of things that you're going to have to, work on as a team, because when you lose, players, you bring in other players, offensively is easy. Defensively, the communication, I think that's where Montrezl will come in. Schröder's a pretty good defensive player. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but they're going to have to figure out how to get in sync defensively. Also, when you have Paul George as hot as he was, there's really no defense for that. But the Lakers, they have some improvement. They know they're going to have to work on some things, and so that's going to be their challenge on the defensive end.
They often say, though, that it's not, when it comes to the defensive end of the floor, it's not about the size per se, though that was a luxury for the Lakers last season and they made that work. It's all about what's inside. And I actually think that the Lakers have a lot of dogs. They have a lot of defensive-minded guys. But to your point, it's going to take some time to put it all together on that end of the floor, the communication, having your legs, having your wind, and having that be a strong backbone. Because I would actually argue that of the positive things tonight that you were able to take away, it's that when the Lakers dive into themselves and really dig deep, they're going to be a strong defensive team. That will be their identity yet again this season.
All right, guys, after the shortest offseason in NBA history, literally, the Lakers received their 2019-2020 championship ring. Vogel, some difficult decisions to make.